Welcome back to World Ascension Conference Live, and we have back with us Rob Gauthier, who is now about to do a live channeling with Aridif. Hello. We have touched a little bit on consciousness, we've touched a little bit on indigos and starseeds. I would like to know if I could ask you yourself some personal questions.
Yes, are you speaking of pertaining to our own race?
Yes, I am. I would like to know what race you are and where do you come from, and tell me about your race as a group and their consciousness.
Yes, now our own race by human tongue has been called Nebian consciousness. We are also referred to by many humans, not only in this time, but in previous times, as the ancient Pleiadians. Now the reason that this has occurred, our own race was at once living in the Pleiades star system. This is a system of stars that encompass several thousands of different races that live in one area of your space-time. When you look at the Pleiades in the sky, there are literally tens of thousands of races that exist, multiple thousands that have been in contact with you on Earth. Now, moving away from that star system, our own race took the entirety of our race and moved into the star system that is now called Deneb in your own planet's tongue. This is because our own consciousness, just as yours, had to develop in a way that allowed us not only physical room, but energetic room to grow. Now we wish to express something to you to explain the meaning of the energetic need to grow. When you look at the star Deneb, you will see a gigantic star, by your own scientists called at least 150 times the size of your own star, when in fact it is much bigger than this. But knowing that it is at least 150 times larger than your own sun, this would beg to give questions of why that is. Yes, of course, there are laws of physics that determine the nature of a star, but there is also non-physical things that accompany that energy to create the physical star itself. One moment, we must hydrate Rob's throat before we continue. When you are looking at a star, that is the component of the combination of every planetary consciousness within its own system. So when you are looking at your star, what you see is every planet within your solar system combining its own collective consciousnesses to create a physical star to hold it all together. This is the same that occurred in Deneb. In the star system Deneb, you see it is such a great size star because our own race is now 6 density beings. This means we are at the end of the physical incarnation cycle. We are less than 100,000 years before we leave the physical system altogether. So looking at our star, it shows you how large our consciousness is. It shows you our own connection and ability to create in physical space. Now, when you see this, you will also understand that by moving to that star, we created a new race itself. When one race leaves their own home planet and enters another planet, that are two collective consciousnesses that are there. There is the one that embodies the physical planets that already exist. In most parts, those who inhabit new worlds only do so if there are only either first or second density beings residing. Our own race, this was no different. So we are connecting with a planetary consciousness that integrates first and second density beings. By connecting with that, we are connecting with the pre-existing collective consciousness. All of the small and large animals, all of the plant life, all of the bacterial life, and all of the stones and water that existed there had their own consciousness. As those entities combined, it created the planet. After we moved into that planet, our own collective came with it. These are two collective consciousnesses. What has to occur when two collective consciousnesses start co-creating and existing? They combine into one new collective consciousness. This is why you see future versions of humans leaving your planet and starting to take on much physical different appearances, such as the Nihil race. They are much different in the way they would appear to a physical human being now, but that is because they joined a new planetary collective consciousness. They integrated their energy with theirs. So in that energy, it changed who we were, it changed what we were. Now we have existed in the Deneb system for all of our sixth density, and at the end of our fifth density experience. This gave us the opportunity to experience. Now, in our own race, there are so many things that we could share with you, but we share a very small percentage, as ourself is working with Rob to express a more intimately detailed nature of our day-to-day society. Rob does not want us ruining that surprise, but we can share with you that our physical appearance is approximately in the 3'9" range. My own consciousness or my own physical body appears that. If I were to stand next to any of you, you would not be able to perceive me. I am in 2 vibrational harmonic levels above you. Most of you call those dimensions. So in that dimension that is higher than you, you would not be able to see my own physical structure because it vibrates at a higher level than even your light on your own physical structure. So being in that energy allows us to be less physical in your own perception. For instance, our own race is able to manifest quite instantly. If we believe that there is something that we would like to play with or desire, we can manifest this truly out of the air. What this means, for instance, if we desire to have a handful of water, we would concentrate on needing, desiring, wanting, or truly excited to play with that water. And that would create the atomic structure of hydrogen and oxygen to co-create with one another to create water. We are able to communicate at the atomic level with the reality around us. We are able to go from our own planet to yours with just one thought. This is the mastery of the physical reality around us. In the densities below us, for instance, Trebol Yitni, the entity that Rob is also deeply connected to. This entity is one that exists in the 5th density. So this being offers a certain vibration that can manifest things quickly, instantly in your perception, but the level in which they manifest is different. If they desire to travel to another star system, they must utilize technology. They create these grand ships or crafts in large style, using technology, using compressed hydrogen, using hydrogen that is compressed to a metallic portion, and then execute that energy in their own craft. But they have connected their own consciousness to these crafts to such a high degree that they are able to integrate that technology into themselves and themselves into the technology. For instance, if Trebol Yitni were working on the idea of bringing a ship to Earth, he would only need to think about bringing it to Earth, and that would cause his consciousness the desire to send a signal into the ship, which causes the ship to instantly manifest in this area. It is a vibration of mastery, only at a different level than ours. The level in which all of you are starting to come into is the 4th density. This is right below where Trebol Yitni's race is. This is the beginning to manifest your connection to things. This means that each of you will play within your own heart chakra and start learning how to connect with one another. start learning to integrate yourself as an entire collective. Once that occurs, your consciousness will be strong enough to start working with each other to create larger things, to create space travel in unity.
Well, some people have claimed that they've met Pleiadians and that they've seen your craft, touching on craft. Could you describe those craft? Could you describe them a little bit more and what people are seeing and what is what?
Yes, first of all, using the terminology of Pleiadians is what we would call a blanket term. As we've expressed previously, there are tens of thousands of races in the Pleiades, thousands of different races from the Pleiades that have worked with Earth collective consciousness. So when you say Pleiadian, you could be describing one, several thousand races. So when a human consciousness meets Pleiadian, the next question from your own mind in the communication with these entities is what race from the Pleiades? What specific race? There are many that look or appear as what most of you perceive as the perfect human. There are also reptilian consciousnesses that exist in the Pleiades, avian, feline, etc., even insectoid races that exist. So in that area, to use that term Pleiadian is a very large order. So what we will do is share with you the humanoid Pleiadians that most of you are accustomed to or aware of. These entities, there are several different races, but the one that is most familiar with humanity are ones who work within the crafts that appear to be saucer, or we are not sure of the exact terminology we'd use, but it would appear to be your standard saucer style of UFO. Those are created and connected with consciousness integration, just as treble Yitney's races. These entities are fifth density beings who have integrated the thought process, the energetic desire process into their machinery at such a high rate, it is much as standing in a make-your-own-wish machine. They sit inside of the ship, they plug into that ship energetically and physically, and where they desire to go is where they will manifest. Many of you have seen them flying through your horizon. That is because they desire to feel the journey. They desire to understand the trip and the journey itself of flying across your planet. Others have seen ships phase in and out of your reality. That is because when you see one of these ships, it is one of two reasons. The first and most common is that they have dropped their own physical vibration to such a high degree that they are able to then take physical form in your plane. What this means is that they must separate their consciousness, create another physical incarnation or physical body, and allow their own consciousness to divert to that physical body. This means for those who are in the first part of fifth density, they are sitting down, meditating, and allowing themselves to create another physical body in the third dimensional process. Then they take that avatar of themselves and go to your planet. Now, when they are doing this, that is when they seem quite physical. When they do not do this, the second way that humans experience is when your third eye and crown chakra are open enough to perceive them as they are in the higher density. Many entities across your planet have claimed to see entities such as Bigfoot, entities such as fairies, leprechauns, gnomes, all of these entities that are being expressed by a collective consciousness are beings who are in a higher dimension. That fourth density consciousness that you are just working into, that energy is that fourth density physical reality. So what they are really doing is not seeing the physical entity in front of them. They have activated their third eye and expanded themselves enough to be able to see that energy. So when you are seeing Pleiadian crafts, when you are communicating with Pleiadian beings, it can be a greater advantage for you to know what specific vibration of Pleiadian they are.
Wow. So did you say that there are several thousand different types of Pleiadian?
Yes, that work with humanity. There are tens of thousands that exist in the Pleiades region. That is why we moved to Deneb. It was much too crowded in that arena for us to stretch our energetic legs.
Wow, so you expanded. So I would like to ask you a personal question of mine, because I believe that I've met my part of my Pleiadian family. I'm not sure what part of that several thousand they are, but I appeared as a hologram to them in a craft. Could you explain that to me? Why I appeared as a hologram?
Yes, when you are experiencing that concept, or they are experiencing you, it is because their own consciousness, again, is in a higher density format. So that means in order to experience you, they are able to shift their vibration, but for a newly born fifth density being, for instance, those who have just left the fourth density, it is much more difficult to manifest a new physical body. So instead, they will bring your own consciousness, because you as a human are multi-dimensional, and they will take your consciousness and make contact with that higher version of you. Let us break down a very complex concept as simply as we are able to. Because you are human consciousness, because you have a great deal of DNAs throughout all densities, this classifies you as a special class of extraterrestrial being. You are what most entities would call ultra-dimensional beings, multi-dimensional beings, or all-dimensional beings. What this means is that you have versions of your own physicality in all dimensions at one time. This is why when you are sleeping, you can go into an astral projected state and connect with beings who are both fifth and sixth density. This is also why those of you who learn to astral project in an awakened or meditative state can go and have a physical experience with a higher dimensional being. It is because you are activating the fifth and sixth density portions of your multi-dimensional DNA. So when you experience this interaction, what they did was not speak to the most physical part of you. They connected to your highly psychic and intuitive part that allowed yourself to access your higher astral state physical self and interacted with that. And that is why your own consciousness would appear to them in that way. It is easier for them to integrate themselves into their technology, which allows a boosting of consciousness and a boosting of their own consciousness signal, and then co-create with the highest version available of your own consciousness. This gives them the opportunity to work on a soul level. There are some entities upon your planet who have hybrid children who have never slept with or had their physical parts taken out of them. This is difficult for many of you to express understanding or believability, but these entities that are higher dimensional take DNA from your astral self, from your higher fractal consciousness version of your multi-dimensional self. So they are interacting with a part of you that is expansive and extended and in the fifth and sixth density, and they are utilizing that part.
Wow, I'm sure that has answered a lot of questions for many people out there. Thank you so much. We now have a couple of questions from our viewers. One question that has come from Savita is how to convert negative thoughts which bother our heart into a loving, positive, high vibrational thought. How can we convert that?
Yes, first of all, thought process in itself is an allowance of your consciousness to wander, and some thought origin is from the physical brain itself, and other thought origin is from your lower fractal consciousness or subconsciousness. So when you are thinking about a negative thought, what you are mostly speaking of is your subconscious, your brain, or that projection of thought process from your lower fractal consciousness. These only occur because you have allowed a flow of energy within your own self, due to your beliefs and due to your interactions, to come into your own awareness. By that existing, the negative emotion is not what is at fault in this situation. When you feel that negative experience or emotion, it is not a bad thing. It is only the conscious construct of your own non-physical self showing you where resistance lies. So within that concept, instead of working on changing a negative thought to a positive experience, what we would express is to work on changing the thoughts themselves. When you feel that negative experience, that is your reaction system, allowing yourself to know that your thoughts and energy are out of alignment. So go to the root cause of the situation. Go into the part of you that allows these more negative or painful thoughts to occur. Start working, and we understand who you are, Savita. You understand that we know who you are personally, so we are very aware that you are aware of the 10-step process, the 10 steps that help smoke out, as Rob would say, your belief systems, to look at your belief systems and to bypass those. Use the tools that we have given you within that. Those tools are available for all beings. These tools are 10 steps that you are able to go through, where you are able to find the very most subconscious beliefs that are limiting to you, or even the conscious beliefs, and to rework them. It is a construct where you must go through using your own consciousness, your brain, to switch your belief systems. The only way that some humans who have been so deeply embedded into the human program and who have been so deeply introduced to separation, pain, or negative thoughts, the only way that they are able to reverse that process is to dissect those thoughts, to stop them in midstream, to be aware that they must stop them, and to reroute. For instance, there are people who we have worked with that express, I am a negative person, no one loves me, I am not lovable. So what we would suggest to them is to wear something around their finger. This reminds them to be aware of all of those negative thoughts, of any thought that brings pain or limitation. Once they see this around their finger all day, they will start remembering to stop themselves in a moment. So when that thought, I am unlovable, comes, to stop that thought. Then to ask the one question, what belief system do I carry that allows me to believe that I am unlovable? The belief system that that entity specifically is I have never been able to have a good relationship in my life. Therefore, I have not been loved in the way I deserve to be loved. I am unlovable. Then you look at that concept and ask yourself the ultimate truth. And when you are in a state of meditation or true alignment, you are able to ask yourself that question: what is the truth in the nature of reality? The nature of that specific belief was created because I was creating with people I do not resonate with, because I tried to be in a relationship with a being who was not vibrationally resonant with me. I tried to make it work because I was raised to believe that when you connect with a person and marry a person, you should stay with that person. And if you have children, even more so, you should stay. When the truth and reality are, people grow to be different beings, and once they grow in a separate path, it is acceptable to change your path. The ideas that have been driven into humanities are driven very deeply into your psyche, even into your DNA. At such a level and such a degree, you have to work just as diligently removing them. That means being aware. That means repetition of truth-telling. That means coming at all of the areas and where resistance lies and repetitively finding them and turning them over. What we would suggest to all entities who are listening in this moment, look at the 10-step belief system process. Kalina will fill all of you in where those can be found for free for all beings who are able or desiring to change their belief systems. It is a tool that ourselves and Kalina co-created.
Wow. I hope that has answered your questions, Savita. So now
He also wishes to express greetings to Savita also.
Oh, thank you, Treb. Greetings to you also, Savita, from Treb. That is wonderful. We do have a question from Scott, and we will make this our last question, because I do understand Rob is probably getting quite tired now. And the question is, what is the main underlying shared energy theme that has brought us all together this evening?
Yes, each and every one of you within this co-created experience are desiring, in the most generic sense, expansion, but more specifically, each and every one who is in this area co-creating in this evening, and all those who create afterwards, listening, watching, co-creating in a further time linear experiences, are all going through the experience of desiring to grow and finding the fight within them to grow internally versus externally. Each and every one who is co-creating this moment has looked outside of themselves for so long for answers, and just now are starting to find easier ways to work within yourself. And we understand and know that all of you understood, at least to a portion of time ago, that the internal nature is where to find that way of flow and answers. But realistically, to find something within that works for all beliefs, for all occasions, and for all things that come into your path can be difficult. Many of you are starting to either look under that stone or to completely flip them over. That is why all of us in this day are co-creating, the common thread of the co-creation for this day. Before we disconnect, we wish to express also that it has been a very wonderful and exciting moment to co-create with you, and we are grateful for having an area of co-creation to be created.
Thank you so much, and we send our infinite love and blessings to you, which I'm sure that you will feel, each and every one of us that have co-created and connected with you this evening. And we thank you for joining us, and we would love to connect again with you at some point in the future. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you also for the co-creation, and to remind all who hear, not only in this day are you all loved, but I also love all of you. We wish to express our own connection, each and every one of you individually and collectively. We will bid you adieu for this evening.
Thank you. Wow, well, you heard it there, folks. I hope a lot of your questions were answered. I know it deeply resonated with me, and you know, I'm sure we will be reconnecting more again with Aradif, and hopefully next time we will get to meet Treb. I'm sure they have so much to show us in bridging that gap of separation, and that is what this is all about. Rob Gauthier, you have been amazing. You have rocked my cosmic socks, as I say. Absolutely amazing. I thank you so much. That was a pleasure to watch.
Well, I'm glad everything went well. When I heard you talking about how well it went, you answered my question. Usually I ask, hey, how'd it go? But apparently it went great, so I'm glad to hear that everything worked out in that communication. I'll have to listen back to it and check it out, see how awesome it was from my own perspective too.
Wow, well, you're going to be wowed. I know, I love it. And I even got a personal question in, so that was a great one for me.
Nice.
We want to thank all the listeners and participants out there for joining us, and remind them of our website, which is newworldascensionconference.com/.com, and you can go there and find out upcoming events. There'll be a link to Rob, and that you can connect to him on our website, and we'll be posting this up to YouTube pretty quickly, because I know there's quite a few that want to see it. And big love to your mum, Rob. I had to get that in there because I know she's a fan of mine, so huge love to Rob's mummy, and thank you for bringing Rob here to the planet. Where would we be without you? Amazing, absolutely insightful. But we bid you farewell from World Ascension Conference. A huge thank you to Thomas Mikey, who has taken over our video and editing. You are another amazing star, so we wish you good evening.
Yeah.
You're welcome, absolutely. Thank you so much for all your assistance.
No problem. Anytime.
And good evening.